A pleasant good morning to everyone, and welcome once again to another edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Today's guest menu looks like this. Brandon B.J. Jones of HBCU Game Day. He'll join me, and we'll kind of discuss an article that was produced by Mr. Craig Haley. And it's simply, he's just suggesting with the Southwestern Athletic Conference playing in the spring, and just maybe the FCS playoffs in the spring. Will the SWAC participate in the FCS playoffs? I'll just get his perspective. You know my perspective on that, but I believe that the listening audience would like to hear different perspectives on that. So we're gonna just kind of go through the article. So first guest, Brandon B.J. Jones. Then following Brandon B.J. Jones will be Quincy Richard. And we're going to focus mainly on the 2003 football season where he was a quarterback at Southern University. And it was just an historic, explosive season for the Southern University Jaguars. And the interesting thing is that team is compared a lot to the 1993 Southern University football team. I'm not going to get into which team was the best. I'll leave that up to others for discussion. But I can tell you this, the 2003 football team was an offensive juggernaut. I've got the schedule pulled up. It brings back memories. And guess what? The team that's been a thorn in their side of late, even back then, gave that football team the only loss of the year. Unbelievable. We'll get into that with Quincy Richard. Find out what he's doing now. Then, in hour number 2, Coach Van Pettaway will join me. And there was an interesting article put out about some of the top assistant basketball coaches in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. I'll get his thoughts and perspective on that and among other things. And then finally, Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network, we'll check in with him to see what's going on from his perspective. So that's the guest menu coming up on today's show. Remember, you can reach the show, Carlos Brown Show, on multiple social media platforms, Twitter, franchise_show, on Facebook, the Carlos Brown Show, and also on Instagram, the Carlos Brown Show. I will now check in, as always, to see what the good doctor's doing and how he's doing. Dr. Prince, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, my friend. How are you this morning?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. And, hey, just ready to continue to get better, to live, and just enjoy myself.
Yes, sir. I think you and a whole lot of other people in that same category.
Yeah. So hopefully everyone is still practicing safety and to get through this situation that the whole world is going through right now. So hopefully everyone is doing well. How about yourself? But you're doing okay?
Man, I'm doing a whole lot better. You know, I had that old knee injury when I twisted my knee. I think I may have torn something, but I'm back. I'm going to say 75%, but 75% beat 25%. But we getting along. They call me Hop Along right about now.
Wow. Well, you're still going to make it, though.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to make it, man. I'm going to make it. I might have to take a couple more kicks to get the door knocked down, but I'm going to keep on kicking. Yeah,
well, I can understand that. And when you're looking at the sports world and you're looking at just living, you look at everything that's going on, a pandemic, that's what it does. It affects every aspect of life. And, of course, we focus on the sports side and the sports angle. I know you're not a big NBA fan of basketball, but I've kind of been checking out how they're putting on the games. They're in a bubble, and they meaning the NBA, so far so good as far as people staying healthy. Now, in your favorite sport, a little bit different.
Yeah, it's a little hairy, scary, and it's because once again you're giving people the freedom of choice, which they have that, and as a result, it does not mix well. Some were wearing masks, others were not wearing masks. They're not practicing social distancing, and it's just a totally different atmosphere than it is to the NBA.
Yeah, and NHL hockey league, if I'm not mistaken, they are in a bubble situation, correct?
Yes, sir. They are. They are.
Okay, and they have had success, and I say so far, and it's colleges, conferences are still deciding not to play. You had a couple of FCS leagues that decided to not play in the fall. Of course, me and BJ will an article with FCS playoffs. Even if you can even play in the spring, and again, I'm usually a cautiously optimistic person, but wow, just the way things are going now, I think the spring is in serious jeopardy of playing any sports.
They think that too, but you got to keep people hopes up.
And then on the social aspect, you have African American student athletes at Power 5 schools. They are not happy. I wanted to use another word, but I'm not going to do that. They're not happy about the protocol and some things that they're seeing as far as safety and precautions. So it is interesting how all of this is going to play out. One of my colleagues told me that it's modern day sharecropping.
It is
with the student athletes, and after it's all said and done, after the emotion of everything, will there be a plan going forward for African American student athletes that play? After the emotion of everything is going on, in the moment, in the emotion, when you get past that, got to start being proactive, overreacting.
Absolutely. And I believe there is an awakening of the sleeping giant. The student athletes, especially on the Power 5 level, are realizing that the billions of dollars that are being generated cannot be generated if they do not participate. And so why you have to go through all these NIL situations and student athletes shouldn't be paid, but you got coaches that are getting paid millions of dollars and had the freedom to go and come as they please, but you can't get that as a student athlete. Now the coaches are saying that the transfer portal is a nightmare. It's not good for college athletics, but coaches are steady getting bonuses. They're steady getting paid out the wazoo. And I'm sorry, but I'm not impressed if you decide to take a 10% pay cut to help with the budget. That's nothing, absolutely nothing to a $7 million, $6 million, $3 million annual income. That's absolutely nothing.
And then some of us have taken more than that. I'm talking about just who don't have a job, who's been furloughed. So it's still a tough situation. But when it's all said and done, there's a movement. There's a spirit in the community to do better, to not look at that as an option, but looking at historically Black colleges and universities as a option, a strong option.
We shall see.
Yeah. So those are a couple of things that are going on, and I look forward, as always, to talking with the guests and get their perspective on different topics. So, with that being said, take the first time out today's show. Now, BJ normally is on in the second hour, so he said, "Yeah, it's cool. I'll come on first." So he's up first. You think he's up and at 'em, Mr. BJ? I think he will be. Brandon BJ Jones, he's coming up next. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com.
Hello, this is Alonzo Hardy Jr., the president of the SWAC Alumni Association. The SWAC Alumni Association is an organization founded on December 10, 1999, at the Sheraton Hotel in Birmingham, Alabama. Its mission is to serve as a rallying ground for individuals who have made the Southwestern Athletic Conference the illustrious conference that it is today. Its membership is open to former student athletes who played in the conference in any sport, as well as to coaches, athletic administrators, staff members, game officials, and fans. Annually, the association holds a Legends Awards and Roast Banquet or luncheon where it honors individuals with Lifetime Achievement Awards, a Chuck Prophet Wagon Master Award, and occasionally a Distinguished Service Award. Proceeds from that event help to finance degree completion scholarships for student athletes who have exhausted their playing eligibility at SWAC universities, but who may still need an extra semester or two to complete their college studies. For more information on the SWAC Alumni Association or to get information on becoming a member, you can send correspondence to SWAC Alumni Association, 875 Miller Creek Lane, Newport News, Virginia, 23602. The email address is SWACalumniassociation@yahoo.com.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Today's first guest is usually in the second hour. Many times he's the last guest. But he's batting first today. Let me say good morning to Brandon B.J. Jones. B.J., good morning, sir.
Good morning, Carlos. How's it going?
I'm doing fine, and yourself?
Oh, man, I'm doing pretty good, man. Up and at 'em.
Up and at 'em. That's what I'm talking about. Young and moving around. That's it. Yeah, young guy. And speaking of a young guy, I'm going to have a younger guy following BJ. BJ, you remember a young man named Quincy Richard?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely, man. One of the best quarterbacks come through the Southwestern Athletic Conference. One of the best leaders that you will ever run into. My first year at Southern University, I actually played with Quincy Richard. So, yeah, got a ring with Quincy Richard. So, great leader, great quarterback, great athlete. Man, you'll be hard pressed to find somebody to say anything negative about Quincy.
And you know, the interesting thing is when you talk about quarterbacks, and it's a position that's talked about a lot, you know, whether from a positive standpoint or a negative standpoint. His name is not mentioned as much, but I pulled up the 2003 season, and it was just explosive. When I tell you, and I said earlier, I'm not going to get into a debate or even a discussion about 1993 championship team and the 2003. But Quincy just told me the other day, numbers don't lie. and from an offensive standpoint, They were explosive.
Yes. I would just say, imagine having to practice against that. Imagine having to practice against a Quincy Richard. By that time, a veteran, Travion Joubert, that receiving core, those running backs. Imagine having to practice against that. That's why defensively, when we saw other offenses, we really didn't blink an eye because we felt like we were playing against the best offense in the conference. I know that a lot of Grambling people would disagree that year because that year they were explosive with Bruce Eugene and Shimon Douglas and what they had. But, man, we didn't blink an eye because of what we had to prepare against every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a valid point because I'm looking at that Bayou Classic, and whenever I'm down, not feeling well, no sports, you can always pop that tape in. Well, I say tape, but YouTube. What an explosion, 44-41. And I have the utmost respect for Grambling State and Bruce Eugene.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, that was, over 1,000 yards of total offense? My goodness.
Mm-hmm. And I think the thing that got us after that game was that we got a lot of chirping from out east talking about how defensively we were suspect and how there was going to be an opportunity for Alabama State to move the ball offensively against us because of what happened defensively in that Bayou Classic. And when we got to Birmingham, it was a different story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
and speaking of that, the better half just passed through and said, "Where's Bruce Eugene now?"
He's actually up in New York. He's coaching high school football. He actually won a state championship up in New York coaching high school football. He's actually doing pretty well.
Oh, Bruce Eugene. Wow. Well, BJ, Craig Haley, he produced an article, and it said, could SWAC FCS playoffs be a match in the spring? And, of course, we won't read the whole article, but we'll try to pick out some of the important parts. But overall, you read the article, correct?
I did.
So let's just ask you, and this is why I have you on, to get a perspective. You know, what I feel is not as important. I mean, I have an opinion. So with that being said, could we see this happen if things are right, meaning COVID numbers and what have you? But overall, just your thoughts on the article.
I mean, it brought up a lot of interesting points, especially, could this be a one-time thing in the spring, to get the SWAC involved? And I think that us in the Southwestern Athletic Conference, I think we're a little bit spoiled with what we have. And when you look outside of the Southwestern Athletic Conference, when you look at the Southland, when you look at the OVC, when you look at the SoCon, when you look at even the Missouri Valley Conference and the Big Sky, a lot of those teams have trouble getting the local recognition and getting fans engaged in their product. When you take away schools who are the flagship schools, so schools like Montana, schools like North Dakota State, South Dakota State, where they're pretty much the only game in town, the only game in the state. But when you look at what the SWAC is able to do inside of the SEC footprint, inside of the Sun Belt footprint, we got a lot of competition, and we're getting a lot of eyeballs and a lot of attention. And a lot of fans from other FCS conferences envy the SWAC, but more importantly, they want to know what exactly the SWAC is doing, or how can we get some SWAC schools in the schedule? How can we intermingle with the schedule to get some of those eyeballs and get some of that attention? So I think that you will see a lot of commissioners from the other league really probably call up Dr. McClellan and say, hey, can you make this happen? Even if it's just for the spring, can you make this happen? Because if you get the SWAC in the conference and the ties that the SWAC has to ESPN and ABC and so forth, that could be something beneficial for the rest of FCS.
Visiting with Brandon B.J. Jones of HBCU Game Day. Of course, the article mentioned Jackson State and their last participation in the playoffs, and of course, they didn't win a game. He has a quote from the commissioner, Dr. McCullough. He says it will be interesting to see where we land. The commissioner, Dr. Charles McCullough, said Friday, we're not convinced we're going to be able to have a celebration bowl. And if we don't have a celebration bowl, we want to work with the other conferences to put together a workable plan for playoff participation. So, BJ, you're thinking this is, if it does happen, if there's a chance of it happening, this will be a 1-year situation.
Yeah, I think as a one-time thing because of what happens in the spring. I think in the fall with the Bayou Classic, the Turkey Day Classic, SWAC Championship, you kind of rule that out unless you can get a team that doesn't participate in one of those games that doesn't make the SWAC Championship. Then you have an opportunity for an at-large like Prairie View did a couple of years ago. They had an opportunity. The scheduling is what really held them out. And Alcorn had potentially, if Alcorn would have lost to Jackson State in 2018, then Jackson State would have went to the SWAC championship game. Alcorn wouldn't have. They would have had an opportunity out of that large. And that was something that Dr. McClellan talked about, scheduling better. So just in case you miss the SWAC championship game, that you have an opportunity for an at-large bid. So I think, I think it works for the spring, but I don't think it's as feasible in the fall. We talk about the champion going to the FCS playoffs.
And you mentioned about an at-large bid. Over the years, I've always said for those who, and you remember this just huge debate you would have even within the SWAC blueprint. I remember having shows years ago. Oh, you need to go to the playoffs. There are those who don't. They prefer not to. Then it's from a financial standpoint. BJ, I've had in the past McNeese State personnel, Northwestern State personnel, who, of course, like the competition, but they also let it be known to me that they were envious of like the Bayou Classic and the chance to make that financial gold pot. And they would like that. And so with that being said, I always said for those who want to at-large bid, those universities, I think you have to start playing more of your FCS brethren during the regular season and have success against them. And then,
Yeah, absolutely. I've had an opportunity to, work in the athletic program, athletic department at the University of North Alabama a couple of years ago, and got some friends that, that coach at Jacksonville State and some other FCS schools. Yes, they are envious, and they'll be the first people to tell you, if we had a Bayou Classic and we had to pick a Bayou Classic over the FCS playoffs, then we would pick the Bayou Classic if we had something of that sort. The problem is that a lot of FCS schools struggle with is that usually their students are already fans of Big State U. So if you got a Jacksonville State, if you got a McNeese, you got a Nichols, a lot of those schools a lot of students go to that school already fans of maybe an LSU or Texas A&M. They're just there for school. They don't have that passion for McNeese. McNeese is there, for the degree, but on the weekends they, go to LSU or what have you. The advantage that we have as historically black colleges is that most of us are in the first, second, or third generation removed from segregation. So we don't have a tie to LSU. We don't have a tie to Alabama. We don't have a tie to Auburn. Our ties are with the historically black colleges, and that's what we grew up on. So, it's easy for us to get out and support our school because, a lot of us, that's what we grew up doing. And that's an advantage that we have over not only the other FCS teams, but the group of fives, and the D2s and everyone else.
And speaking of that, support, now HBCUs need their alums to support them more than ever in this time. And you saw the list that came out. I think maybe you put it out there, I think, on Twitter about the attendance, HBCU attendance. And there was a good bit of discussion on that as well. Jackson State, of course, they finished first. I mean, I don't have the list right in front of me, but I remember seeing it. And I'll just say this. When you have Alcorn coming and Southern, and they're the away teams, you should be number one.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
plus home control. In other words, give a little credit to a couple other schools who helped that attendance. You just ain't gonna let them win, are you? What? Did I say something wrong? No. I mean, I understand what you're saying, because I really feel like this year, with the home schedule that Southern had, FAMU, Jackson State, Alcorn, homecoming, I felt like Southern, this was an opportunity to lead the nation in attendance. But you're right, Jackson State had Grambling, Southern, homecoming against Alabama State, and Alcorn all at home. That's a recipe for great attendance. But I will give Jackson State credit. They led the nation in attendance in 2018 without Southern, without Alcorn at home, without Grambling at home. They still led FCS in attendance. So I'll give them a credit. Granted, it was a big difference between the 34,000 that they averaged in 2019 and the 24,000 that they averaged in 2018. But that 24 was still good enough to lead the nation. And they ought to be applauded, because just think if they had a couple of Eastern Division championships behind their belt.
Right. And
double-digit wins. So that fan base is like every other fan base. They're starving for success. And I mean true success. Because, BJ, we've talked about it before. I mean, sometimes I get it rough, because they say I'm not happy with being, Southern getting second place, a runner-up.
Hey, I think it's hard not being, when you haven't hoisted the goal in a while, you get a little antsy. So trust me, I understand.
Mm-hmm. But I do have some alum from different schools say, you know what, I understand the way you feel, Carlos, I really do. I say thank you. But at the end of the day, when we look forward, when we get past all of this that's going on now, it's going to be on. It's going to be popping.
Yeah, I think that the 2021 season, if we can get the spring season in, 2021 is going to be a monumental season of the conference. I think from a fan participation standpoint, I think from just an overall history standpoint, everyone just, chomping at the bit to get back out of the house. And then when you talk about bringing in Bethune-Cookman and FAMU, I think that 2021 in the SWAC is going to be one of those seasons that we're going to talk about for a long time.
Yeah, it has so much potential. But, first and foremost, the number one enemy, the invisible enemy, is to get past this COVID. Some kind of way, and everybody has to do their part.
Mm-hmm. Now, I think one of the things that I'm hopeful about, Carlos, is that if you've been watching the news, the testing that they're doing on the vaccine is going very, very well. I'm
cautiously optimistic, BJ. No. I understand what you're saying, and I keep up with the updates, and hopefully everything's going to be well. I mean, progress, making progress is ultimately a good thing. I really do believe that. But you're right. 2021 and beyond, and hopefully, and here's another situation from a financial standpoint. Our universities, they're taking a hit, but hopefully they'll be able to get back to a pre-pandemic situation. And, it may take a few years to get that done. But that's another thing. And again, that's why the alumni have to really, really do their part now. They really do. But back to the article. So, to wrap up that part, FCS playoffs could be a one-time situation with the SWAC perhaps participating if all things go well. And then the Celebration Bowl. Does it come back? And does the MEAC come back strong? Or will they still be in a place where it's uncomfortable for them? What do you think?
I think that both commissioners were really confident about extending the Celebration Bowl, so that gives me a little bit of hope. As far as the MEAC, I think the MEAC is going to come back on the same footing they're on now. Things have been a little unstable. I think with teams leaving, plus you looking at teams maybe to move up from Division II level to Division I level, or trying to look somewhere else, or looks elsewhere, kind of look at some disgruntled teams. I think because of the finances of COVID, the impact of finances from COVID will make a lot of people who may have thought about moving up kind of go, yeah, not now. Not now, because it already takes money to move. It takes money to fund additional scholarships. It takes money to upgrade your facilities. Now the money that it takes is being taken from you due to the pandemic. I don't really see the MEAC expanding anytime soon. I could be wrong, but I'm just doing a little 1 + 1 = 2, and I just can't see it.
And then there's still some uncertainties. 5 years from now, if we had a crystal ball and we could see into it, but we can't, what will happen? You would, personally, you would like to say, hey, Celebration Bowl is still viable. The MEAC has rebounded, but you don't really know. And then are there other options?
Yeah, I've heard some other options. One in particular that sounded really, really good about the Celebration Bowl. But hey, we'll see what happens.
Say that again.
I've heard some other options for the Celebration Bowl kind of bounced around. One in particular that sounded really, really good. But we'll see what happens with that.
In other words, you want to sit on that one. Alyssa says, call us to you and Brother Prince. I think the landscape of college football will change in the next 2 or 3 years. I believe it will change. To what extent? What was that? No, talking about 2 or 3 years from now, I guess he's saying it's going to be even more changes.
Yeah, you're going to get changes in college football. Period. When you look at what's happening in the Pac-12, look at what's happening in the Big Ten. Now student athletes from the Mountain West have stepped up and started talking. You hear mumblings if you're looking on Twitter and you're following the SEC players that there's an SEC United coming. There were some rumblings from a few seniors in the SWAC. So I think one of the things that has happened with COVID is that student athletes already felt like they weren't get a piece of the pie. Now with COVID, student athletes are able to see that it's not next man up. You need me to get this money. And this money that I'm getting is very important, not only for the school, but for things around the community that kind of hinge themselves on football season. You're seeing the Power 5 right now, particularly, bending over and doing all kind of mental gymnastics to make sure that they have athletics. Because there's a threat that the students have that the student athletes have threatened to walk out and not play. You saw the SEC come out saying, hey, we're going to do third-party independent testing twice a week. And that was something that was demanded by the Pac-12 students as well as the Big Ten students. And it's easy for us to look at it as HBCU fans and go, well, those are the big boys. But I'm here to tell you, there are some things that even at FCS levels that student athletes look at and go, yeah, that's going to have to change. So, like I said, we can sit back and we can root for chaos and go, yeah, and we can nail the bring them home narrative as much as we want to. But still today, they're still student athletes. There's still certain things that they're not getting. And it doesn't matter if it's PWI, HBCU.
On that note, 10:35. We could go on a little longer, but I've got the next guest coming up, Quincy Richard. But you know, as we wrap this up, BJ, I've had people that say, you know, hey, let them walk. They ought to. You have other options. You know, HBCU as an option. And to last week's show, and it had some people who kind of dialogue after the show last week with Coach Woods, when he was talking about there's still some things that he would like to see done at HBCUs, you know, investment in recruiting budgets, facilities.
And this is something I warn people. I'll close with this, Carlos. When we talk about these 5-star athletes leaving these big institutions and coming to HBCUs, what happens to your current athletes? That's always what I think. What happens to your current athletes? Take care of the ones that you have first. Don't give me a promise that you're going to do something that I haven't seen you do with your current. Take care of what you have first. Show the example that you're taking care of what you have, and kids talk. It don't matter if it's just, you know, Twitter, Facebook, these voice groups. These chat groups they have. These kids talk. Your athletes at your school will sell your program better than the alum or coach ever can. The athletes on your campus right now, when they talk to their friends, they get disgruntled and they want to transfer, they're the ones that sell your program. So, hey, take care of the ones that you have, and you'll be amazed how many will come and want to join them.
And maybe next time we could talk, of course, you didn't start at Southern, correct?
Nope, I did not start at
and
UAB.
You transitioned to Southern University, and your perspective on that would be very interesting to go into in a little bit more detail. But with that being said, appreciate the time as always, BJ. Thanks.
All right, man. Appreciate you having me.
All right. Have a great weekend.
All right, you too.
All righty. That was Brandon B.J. Jones of HBCU Game Day. We'll take a quick time out. Quincy Richard, he comes up next. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com.
One voice. It can get the point across, but it only carries so far. Add a voice. It's richer, louder, but that has limits too. Add a third voice. It's even more powerful. Add another, and many, many more. And we are stronger than ever. That's the power of a community coalition. They help community groups, faith groups, civic organizations, PTAs, employers, and many others in your community organize their resources and focus them where they're needed most, like fighting to keep kids away from drugs. Ask a group that you belong to if they should belong to a community coalition. It's easy to get involved. Visit helpyourcommunity.org and they'll tell you exactly how your group can help. That's helpyourcommunity.org, because you get more when we get together. Brought to you by the Office of National Drug Control Policy and the Ad Council.
Be the one with courage to fight child abuse.
All Texans must find the courage to fight child abuse.
Learn the signs and symptoms and report suspected abuse to appropriate authorities.
Learn and know these warning signs.
A child who undergoes changes in behavior, appetite, or routine.
Watch for unexplained injuries, a change in academic performance, or loss of interest by a child in regular activities.
Trust your instincts. If you suspect something, do something.
If you believe a child is in an abusive situation, please call the Texas Abuse Hotline at 1-800-252-5400.
Be the one with courage. To find your local Children's Advocacy Center, visit onewithcourage.org.
On behalf of children, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Coles Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Next guest is Quincy Reshort from 1999 to 2003, quarterback at Southern University, and it's a pleasure to have Quincy on. Quincy, good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning to you and everyone else.
Yeah. Pleasure to have you on to talk with us about playing quarterback at Southern University. And, you know, Quincy, that is a position that is talked about a lot, whether from a positive or a negative standpoint. But your career at Southern University was one that and specifically that 2003 season, I mean, what a tremendous season. 12-1, Western Division champs, SWAC champs, Black College National champs. I know it's been a while, but do you ever reminisce about your time at Southern University?
Oh, always. And you're right, quarterback is one of those positions that I always used to tell people they get either way too much credit or way too much blame, because there's so many things that go on throughout a football game. But I stay in touch with a lot of the guys. We're in a group chat, and we're always bringing up stories, funny stories, or something that happened and reminiscing. And just, we're all older now. We're all trying to find ways just to stay connected and keep it going, because we had a lot of fun then. And we still have a lot of fun when we do get together. It's like we never left.
Yeah, a fraternity for life, basically. And Quincy, 1999. So you come to Southern University right at the time where they're back-to-back champions. So when you get there, how are you feeling? Do you just want to kind of find your place on the team? How were you feeling coming in 1999, knowing what you know about what Southern had accomplished?
When you get there, it's initial shock. I think you don't know what to think. You always want to say you want to come in and contribute, but a lot of people don't understand the big jumps from high school football to college football. Even the simple things as being out in the world by yourself now. And so it was a big shock. I can't know the way I can put it, a shock to my system because of how they ran their operations, the work that it took, the 5 a.m. get up and your day ended sometimes at 9. And just you see a lot of the players that you played against in high school, and they're a lot bigger now, a lot stronger, and a lot faster. And it really just gives you hope for the future to something to aspire to. And they had a lot of great guys that pretty much helped my growth as a man, as a football player, athlete, just all around, period. And I'm forever indebted to them because of it.
So you come, they've had success. You're coming in as a quarterback. You get there, and you see just how much were part of the program. Was there any particular player that kind of took you under their wing, or or basically it was just a group that did it for you?
It was a. I want to say it's a group thing more than anything, because the university is not that big in size, obviously, and so the team we all had one objective, so we really meshed well. My freshman year, I probably had the best bond with the defense because you get there, and Troy Levy and Terrence Williams, they were the going back 1 and 2 quarterbacks of that year. So that leaves me running scout team. So
yeah.
So I had to mimic a lot of other teams' quarterbacks and offenses. So I spent a lot of time with the defense, which really helped my progression because I got to see a lot more of and get a better understanding of the defense. And so I didn't. After I saw how good Troy and Levy were, I knew I wasn't going to play, so I just sat back and watched and tried to learn all that I could. And lo and behold, my freshman year, the plan was to redshirt, and I lost my redshirt for 3 plays in the Bayou Classic. And that's how I lost the whole 1999 year, because of 3 plays in the Bayou Classic, a handoff, and we had a rule on passing plays, all else fails, throw to Mike Hayes. So I handed the ball off one time. The second time they called a passing play, I followed the rule, threw it to Mike. Third time they called another play, I followed the rule again, threw it to Mike. I have no clue if the plays were designed to go to Mike, but they went there. and so I actually went, the rule was true. I went 2 for 2, and then after that, I think Troy had been hurt. Levy had maybe some blood on him or something, so he had to get patched up. And so after that, I was out of the game, and the world couldn't tell me anything, because I had went from playing in a little bit town of Opelousas and in front of I don't know how many fans, but now I'm in the Superdome, and I had 3 plays. And it's funny because I don't even know if Coach Rich knew my whole name at that time, because he was just, "Hey, little man, get in there." And it was me. And so I went in, but it was a good experience. Funny way to lose your red shirt, though.
I don't know. It sounds like we may have lost Carlos. He was talking, but that's all right. He'll probably chime back in. If you don't mind, continue on. You get your red shirt year and then lead to the next year coming in.
Oh, okay, not a problem. I lose my red shirt year, and so that means the following year I have the red shirt to make up for my freshman year. And so once again, more learning. More reps, getting a little bigger, a little stronger. And so I didn't play that year. Then it is finally my time to try to be in the conversation to play at quarterback, which would have been 01. And so I played a little bit, but 01 and 02 battled some bad nagging injuries that just kept reoccurring. And at that time, we were into some growing pains, too, because we were going through a bunch of seniors that left. We had some new players come in, some left. So we went through a real rough patch, and it made us grow together and grow up as men. And that's how it ended up leading to the 03 season that was so great for the class that I came in with, because we had took all our bumps and bruises together and bonded. And 03 just turned out if I was to say better than we thought it would be
Quincy, we're going to take a quick break. Quincy, Carlos is chiming back in with us right now. We lost him for a moment, but keep that thought. We'll be right back. All right?
No problem.
Hello, I'm Dr. Mike Prince, the pastor of the Temple of Refuge Ministries located in Prairie View, Texas. I am extending a personal invitation to you to come and worship with us Sunday mornings, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Simply dial 857-777-0000 and join us for our morning worship. In the event that you miss us live, you can always go to our on-demand center at 720-721-1558 to listen to our latest sermons and Bible studies. Temple of Refuge Ministries, where we're building the kingdom, one soul at a time. Numbers to dial again for our live sermons, 857-777-0000 and on demand, 720-721-1558. Be blessed.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. I'm back. A little technical switch there, but visiting with Quincy Reshore, former Southern University quarterback from 1999 to 2003. And Quincy, the last thing I was able to hear you talking about was losing your redshirt year.
Yeah,
Correct?
for three plays in the Bayou Classic. 3 whole plays.
The big game. Big game.
The big game, 3 plays.
Wow. So it could have been a 2004 season for you. And Quincy, I've talked to a few people who, after the 2003 season, it was like, man, wish Quincy had another year. That 2003 season, 12-1 overall, SWAC Western Division champions, SWAC champions, 2003 Black College National champions. And when we talked for setting up this interview, you told me basically at that point, everyone had matured. You guys knew what to expect, and you just came into that season clicking. Talk about that season, 2003.
Yeah, we have been together that's kind of the beauty of a smaller college football. There's not a lot of transferring in and out or going to the pros. So the group had been together since 99 and 2000. And we were good friends, good buddies. And it started over the summer. We were in summer school and we were tired of going through the bumps and bruises of the last couple of years, nagging injuries, whatever. We just didn't win. And so we all just kind of, I don't know if we made a formal pact or informal pact, but we wanted to go out with a bang, and we had to do whatever we had to do that. And so it'd be many days that I would want to sleep in, and somebody would literally kick down my door and drag me out of bed, said, no, we got to work, and vice versa to some other people. And so it was a lot of work that a lot of people didn't know going into that season, even to the point to where we even coordinated a pass skeleton, one-on-ones and everything. We went over to LSU in the indoor practice facility, and we coordinated it with the guys on their team. And so we went kind of like flag football or just pass skeleton and practice with them with no coaches, no cameras, no anything. And we just went against them, which was a good thing for us because at that time, that's 03, LSU had maybe 10 draft picks on offense and defense. And so it was a good experience to us because if we can do what we do against them, then we should be okay in the SWAC. And so we just kept doing little things like that. Like we were together all the time, like a big old family. So we had ups and downs, fights, arguments, you name it. But we stuck together throughout it all, and we knew we were going to be good. But I would be lying and grossly understating the magnitude that we did become, because we just were having fun, and when it was easy because we were having fun and we wanted to do better for each other. And we went in, and I don't think probably until maybe the Vegas game against A&T is when we realized how good we actually were. Because we were just running through the first two games and like, well, maybe those teams on a down year. But then A&T in Vegas, they came in with all the hype. I think they had a cornerback that was being looked at as maybe a day one draft guy and so on and so forth. And so we went out there, and I think after that game, that's when we realized how special we really could be.
And that's interesting because I pulled up the 2003 season. Of course, you started off with Valley. That was a victory, 29 points. You scored in that one. September 6th, you played Prairie View. You put up 62 points. And Las Vegas Football Classic, 35-16. Then the next game, Alabama State, 35 points. Pine Bluff, 53 points. 53-7. So I'll just stop there because if anybody remembers that season, it was a couple of high points. But to your point, North Carolina A&T in Vegas. Have you been to Vegas since then?
That was my one and only time going to Vegas. My one and only time. I'm a country boy, so I don't know how many flights I had taken prior to going to Vegas, and so it was a different experience. It was a challenging experience for Coach Rich and his staff to keep us focused because we stayed in every hotel is a casino in Vegas, and you have a bunch of 18 to 22-year-olds in a city of bright lights. And normally when we go to a city to play football, we might set a Holiday Inn or some chain hotel like that, and so maybe 4 or 5 floors that you have to monitor. When we went to Vegas, we stayed in the casino. I forgot which one we stayed in, but you're talking 20, 25 floors of rooms, and you're trying to monitor your team. So it was a couple of us got in trouble. For sightseeing. But when it came down to the Friday before, we focused in and understood what the mission was. But we were young kids, so we had to see what Vegas was all about. And we did. It was a fun trip and a fun experience. And for my first time being in Vegas, I couldn't have asked for a better way to be introduced to it with all my friends and my family that came to Vegas to experience the game with us.
Yeah, and boy, at that time, North Carolina A&T still tough like they are now. But that was just an interesting game. Homecoming, I believe, against Alabama and NIM. And that game, homecomings are, and I know Coach Richards always talk about this, and
homecoming is for the alumni and fans. It is not for you. I heard that speech 5 years in a row. He would tell us that and made sure we knew the festivities are not for you. If I see you out enjoying the festivities, you will enjoy them all weekend because you're not playing. Homecoming was, we heard that speech every year.
Well,
and
I was going to say, you guys did well. You put up 55 points in that game against Alabama A&M, and you survived homecoming. Then those Octobers, they were always traditionally tough. Then you got Jackson State. Then you got Alcorn. And when we talked earlier, you said something about Alcorn State. And lo and behold, when I look at the game at A.W. Mumford, Alcorn gave Southern its only loss of the season.
On my birthday.
To 34.
On my birthday.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, on my birthday. We were just at that point in time. We got a little. I'm gonna say we were a little arrogant, and so we were beating everybody bad. We knew Alcorn were good, but to us, they weren't us. So we were all ready for the post-game birthday celebration and how fun it would be once we beat it, blah, blah, blah. And I think maybe with less than the last 2 minutes, I think they beat us with the touchdown in the back of the end zone. When, if I remember clearly, the play before that might have been an interception or something that was dropped that would have sealed the game. And then the back of the end zone, they beat us. And so our only game we lost in a great season just ironically ended up being my birthday. So,
wow.
Needless to say, the party plans got canceled.
I understand. I want to say it's Mr. Charlie Spiller. And I want to say
the quarterback.
Darnell
Kennedy. No.
I thought he was. I'm sorry. Alcorn. I thought he was a receiver that had 1 foot in the back of the end zone.
Oh my God! I'm struggling for the Alcorn quarterback, and he was awesome. I always talk about it. For some reason, I'm drawing a blank right now, but he was awesome.
I'm sure someone will. They're listening. Someone will pass the message.
He was from New Orleans. He was from New Orleans, and I'm just drawing a blank because he was. Oh my God, he was good. And he spoke about the Jackson State game. Prior to that, the Jackson State game, I don't care if Southern and Jackson State hadn't won a game in 20 years. When you play Jackson State, it is another level to the hype, the toughness, the everything. And I can remember at that time, and it's weird because this is kind of early ages of the internet and all this stuff. But it's weird. I can remember messages coming from Jackson State all the way to me from Robert Kent, who was just amazing quarterback at Jackson State. And they were sending messages like, oh, we saw all this, but y'all not going to do none of that when you come here. We got blah, blah, blah. You're overrated, overhyped. So we had a little bulletin board material. And I think he and I had a friendly, personal challenge against each other. And that was one game. I didn't care how we were going to win. I knew we had to win it. If I had to borrow a leg from somebody, we was going to win. But it was exciting because it's Southern J State. Doesn't get any better.
Oh, you don't have to tell me. To this day, it still feels the same way. It is a terrific atmosphere in Veteran Stadium, and to go to Jackson State and then come out victorious, it's sweeter. It's sweeter. Quentin, listener has a question for you. He says, please ask Q, what was his mindset after that fourth quarter pick six he threw in the 2003 Bayou Classic, and how did he overcome that? Well, I know the yards was picking up in that game.
The pick six I threw, I can tell you exactly my mindset. He was from Baton Rouge. I forgot him. He was good friends with James Vernon. It was the DN, super athletic guy. And if I remember right, it was we talking about the same one. It was supposed to be like a little quick pass out in the flat. Tackle was supposed to cut the defensive end, and I probably could see it right now that he puts his hands on the tackle's back, and when I throw it, he jumps and he picks it off, and I have to give props to what I do. I was like, wow, it's a hell of an athletic move. And so then he caught it, and he's a D lineman. So I was like, well, I'm going to just catch him and tackle him, and hopefully we play defense and keep him. Man, that dude was fast. And so he scored. And so that's one of the things about quarterback. It's hard to blame stuff like that on anybody but yourself. So at that point in time, it was more so I got to make up for this mistake that I made, because it was too good of a game, and nobody wants to be the reason that all the hard work of everybody else ended up going to waste. And I can remember coming to the sidelines, and it was scoring so much until Kendrick Paul, every time, the last time, he's like, look, don't worry about that. We need another score, and we'll be all right. And there's one thing about quarterback, you have to forget it, which is not easy to do, because when you do throw a pick like that, Grambling fans are super excited, and Southern fans are super disappointed. And so it's a harmonious sound, and you just strain so much. So you never want to let down the fans, family, friends, everybody with that work. So at that point in time, we just had to regroup, because if not, we knew it was on the line. And like I said, I had a great group of guys that even when I wanted to be down on myself, they knew what to make me laugh, or what to say to make me laugh, or do to try to get my mind off of it, because all you do is make me laugh, and I'm ready to go to the next play.
And I was a 44-41 victory in the Baton Classic
Track
that time. And hey, the winner of that game goes on to the SWAC championship. And then a couple of weeks later, oh boy, and I remember that game. Was it cold? I mean, I know you guys on the sideline, but you're playing, and then you come on the sideline. But you go on to defeat Alabama State on Legion Field 20-9. But that was a miserable day for the fans until the clock went 0 and Southern won. So Southern fans are happy. But that was a interesting ball game to defeat a team twice in the same season, Quincy. But
yeah, it was. We were on a kind of emotional high. It's like that 03 Bayou Classic was real weird, fun, exciting, disappointing, and it was just a roller coaster of emotions. And so I forgot even the circumstance that led to maybe the Alcorn loss or something like that led to the Bayou Classic being the determining game to go to the SWAC championship. So we had just jumped that hurdle, and then we go. That was my first time being in Birmingham too. But like I said, I'm a country boy, so that was a lot of first places. And we, when we get to Birmingham, it's a beautiful area. With very great scenery. And it was hard to beat a team twice, and it was ridiculously cold. And ridiculously is the best way I can put it. We, instead of cold Gatorade, they would warm the Gatorade up in the bottle, so it almost tasted like tea. And so they had the big butane heaters all around, but they were limited. And then they give you these jackets that go over your pads when it's maybe 30 degrees with the wind chill or something ridiculous. And the jacket that they give to put over you is like probably as thick as the little windbreakers that you wear in school. So it's not doing anything. And that's the worst game ever for somebody to sit the bench, because at least when you play, you're running and you get a little heated and your body temperature goes up. But we were trying everything to get warm. Everything. I mean, somebody came up with the bright idea of you put Vaseline on your chest and put a sweatshirt and a T-shirt underneath your pad. I mean, we were trying everything to to stay warm, and so it was harder for the offense because the elevation, temperature, all that factors into the feel of the football. So you're trying to throw a brick, you're trying to catch a brick, and it was just brutal. It was brutal, and I think I might have played the first half of that game, and I remember I was running into possible try to score, at least I thought it was, and the linebacker came out of nowhere, and when he hit me. It was the first time I seen my shoes that day because they went above. They went above my head, and I forgot his name. But if he listens in his, I have to now today. I can give him his props. He laid me out, and I vividly remember he hit me up like in my chest area. And when he hit me, he knew he hit me good. And I hit the ground, and he says, get up, whatever. I forgot the word. It wasn't a curse word or something, but he said, now get up from that. Now, I didn't want to because he hit me chest high, but I pulled my groin. That's how hard he hit me. I was like, not even in that area. I was like, wow. But he hit me hard, and he's like, get up, like taunting me to get up. Mm-hmm. And at that point in time, that's when the man of you kicks in. He's like, man, I don't want to get up because I'm hurt, but I got to get up because I'm not going to let him get the satisfaction of me staying down. So I bounce back up, and, you try to play it off for a little while, just so you don't give him the satisfaction of the trainers coming out, because then it becomes a mental game. But yeah, he knocked the socks off of me that time, and I think I stayed out for literally. And so the pads pop and sound and feel a little louder and hurt harder when it's cold as is. Mm-hmm. And I have no clue how it happened, but he literally hit me in my, he hit me high, but I ended up having problems with my groin. So props to him. And I think I stayed out a little while, and trying to get heat on my groin and stretch when it's impossible to get heat in the cold. And Ricks came in and filled in for a nice while and did a great job. And I came in a little bit, tried some more. And you come back, it's hard to come back out of halftime because the body gets a little bit cooler. Right. Air gets a little bit colder. Everything factors in. And so I came in sporadically, but then when the game was pretty much wrapped up, Coach Oliver, Coach Rich, Ricks, and everybody, they made sure that the last couple plays that I did what we called the victory formation just to seal out the game. So I want to say I played a couple, majority of the first half, and then a little in the third. And I think Ricks took it on home for the most part, but that just shows you how next man up and team and prepared we were as a brotherhood, because I don't know if I'm Ricks, if I carried us through, if I'm going to say, hey, come back in and take these snaps. So, but he did that, and they all wanted to make sure I did, and I appreciate him till this day for that. And it was just the ending of a good story for us that year, for all who came in with me. And good year for Baton Rouge, period, Southern, and they still talk about that team, and I'll let everybody else know that as much as they talk about that team, it's probably 10% of how much we still talk about it with each other.
Well, and you guys ended up champions, Black National champions, SWAC champions, 2003. They had parade for you guys along with LSU. A listener says Alcorn quarterback, 2003. Yeah, Donald Carey.
Donald Carey. He's from New Orleans. I know he's from New Orleans. I apologize to Donald Carey because I know his name because I have a lot of friends from New Orleans, and they always talk about how good he was in park ball. So, and he was a hell of a quarterback at Alcorn. But I don't know, maybe Saturday morning I drew a blank. But yeah, no, I give that guy his props. Donald Carey was nice. He was real nice. I think he ended up being maybe second team All SWAC that year, maybe. I don't know. But he was real good. And he showed it.
That and thanks, that was Jack, a listener, for that information. So champions, you end up in that season, your career is over with, and you go out with a bang. And now Quincy Reshaw, as we close this interview, Quincy Reshaw now, life after football, what are you doing?
After the football season, I was in grad school that 03 year when I played in grad school. And so after that, the NFL wasn't beating down my door. And so Canada called a little bit, but from as a little bitty boy in the country, they said only people that make money are doctors and lawyers. So pick one. I'm not a blood guy, so I went to law school. I went to law school at night actually, and worked during the day. And so I think I've been a lawyer for 12 years now. 12 years. And it's like any business, any job. It has its ups and downs, learning all. I understand now why they call it the practice of law, because you steady learning every day, all day. But the competitiveness from sports helps a lot in the practice of law, because just like in sports, you don't ever want to let anybody get the best of you. And so I've been doing that. Been an attorney the last 12 years, doing personal injury, car accident type cases, and then just recently, within maybe the last year or two, you feel the climate of everywhere, and so I started doing a little more criminal law stuff. And it wasn't mainly for the work. It was just because it gave me a chance to get a lot of men that were my age or younger, look like me, act like me, and probably did some of the crazy stuff I did, but that they were in a bad spot. It allowed me to just talk to them and help them. And the goal was to see if the mistake that made us meet didn't define them in the future. So that it was more of a lawyer but social thing to do when I started picking up some criminal law stuff. And now, present day, we just, on a social aspect, a couple friends of mine, we just started a consulting company. Myself, Ezra Landry, a guy named Stuart McCall, brilliant dude. PJ Martin, who is Paul Martin's, past Paul Martin's son from New Orleans, and PJ, a Grammy, you name it. PJ is awesome. Grammy winner, part of Maroon 5, everything. He's a smart guy, HBCU grad, just an amazing dude. He's the fourth person. Then we have, I won't say his government name, but McMain. He's also a partner in consulting company. McMain is the president of Young Money, aka Lil Wayne, Drake, and that label. And Lawrence Parker, he's the sixth one of the game. and he's a exec at Rock Nation, and just all real bright, talented, smart dudes. And it came about because of the existing times that we were in, and the companies that are out there some are trying to understand and make change as far as diversity, inclusion, and equity, and some aren't. But we figured that it was our duty to kind of see if we can come together as a group collectively and actually bring in more powerful men and women so that we can get to use the status that those guys bring and the differences that we all bring to get out in the world and hopefully make some changes. And we called it Conglomerate Consultants is what we named it. And it's mainly because Conglomerate is a different talent that we all brought to the table, meaning their entertainment, my legals, all of us together bring a great makeup and make a good team. And so we're in the early stages of cutting our teeth on that. We're having fun, and hopefully we can make it better for the world, the race, and everyone in general. But yeah, that's what our new project is that we're taking on. Diversity, inclusion, equity, supply diversity, training, everything. Consulting company, just to try to see if we can take the downside of the times that we're in right now and use them as turn it into a positive and see if we can be influencers for real solid future change for this generation and the generations behind us. And so we're doing that, and it's fun. Like any new business, we chucking along and making it away, but I have no doubt that with the talent that those guys have and bring, and celebrity status and just wealth of knowledge, period. Because, I mean, once again, country boy like me, I haven't been many places, but you talk about PJ, Mac, and Law, they've been overseas, and so they bring a whole different aspect to ideas and solutions are things that we're going to bring to companies, nonprofits, governments, and believe it or not, police departments too probably would be an area, because hopefully they will understand. We can make consult them and they understand what's going on and the reason why of the outrage, and just make the world a better place. I mean, sounds cliche and maybe cheesy, but that's really what was the underlying goal of us coming together to start a consulting company, was to help out. And of course, you always want to make money, but if you can always make money and help others, that money just seems way much better. And teach others how to make money and grow through supply diversity and diversity inclusion, grow opportunities for people who may not have had them before, but because of our team, they do now have them. And so that's what we're doing. We're having fun. We're Zoom calling it right now, group texting, emailing, you name it. That's the world we're living in to communicate right now. And that's how we're getting the company off. And like I said, the main areas especially for our race, the health care, education, just opportunities, financial literacy. We just trying to do our part. I guess, like they say, too much is given, much is required, and we've had a lot of opportunities as our group, and we want to pass those experiences to people and companies so they can change from internally and see the value that we bring, and I say we, meaning us as a race, to the world that are clear.
Well, we are going to make sure we keep up with the progress of your group and you and Quincy. We appreciate the time on a Saturday morning to come and have a conversation with the show, and we will stay in touch.
Oh man, thank you guys. I mean, it's kind of I get to talk and relive some of the best moments of my life. That with life going so fast and changing, it's good to pause right now and you made me think about those good times right now, and it put a smile on my face. And it's probably some others to hear those stories again. And to the people that we beat, sorry. Yeah, and I appreciate the time, and now it makes sense. When we set up this interview, you said Alcorn was tough, and I happened to look on there. I said, well, you know what, Alcorn's still a thorn. Even back then, at least for one game. No, we don't need bulletin board material for Alcorn. Alcorn is Alcorn. They've done well, but they still have a little way to become us. They still have they still have a little time to get used to where we are, come close to, and Coach Odoms and all the guys are working hard to make sure that they are a roadblock to Alcorn ever being able to be the king of the hill as we are.
Yeah. Well, I know someone
they are good though.
Yeah. Look, I know somebody who's hoping. My goodness. He may go on a hunger strike if it doesn't happen soon. I don't know, but
I hear it every year. Every year I hear it. I mean, I haven't been an undergrad in 20 years, but every time I could be in a grocery store, it could be anywhere. Whoever beats Southern, and if they knew I played football, they make sure they know that. I mean, I know that the score, the this, the that, and it's like, all right, man. He's like, yeah, if I did that to everybody in Baton Rouge and around, I would be talking every day about that because we always beating everybody, and so we just act like we've been there before.
Yeah,
but no, thank y'all very much. And everybody listening, look out for us. Look out for us because we always want to more help, and we welcome more help, and just we want to come out on the right side of history for the future and what we're trying to do right now. But thank you guys a lot.
All right, you take care. We're gonna be in touch. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We appreciate it. We'll talk real soon.
I woke up at 4. I'm finishing my work. I'm gonna go take a nap now. So
enjoy your rest.
Get up and do some work. I can do up some work. The work never stops. But thank you, man. Have a good day, and I would say the year, but I know we'll talk before then. So have a good rest.
We will. Thanks a lot, Quincy Reshore, former Southern University player from 1999 to 2003. Gonna take a quick time out. We'll come back and visit with Coach Van Pettaway. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com.
Have sports, we'll travel. The Open Mic Broadcast Network serving student athletes from Little League, high school, and collegiate coverage right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network. From coast to coast, from dusk till dawn. You can catch all student athletic action right here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network, the station designed with you in mind. Serving the community through faith and athletics, the Open Mic Broadcast Network, the voice of student athletics.
I present to you 3 of the fiercest subjects ever assembled in the cage of doom. First, the brain-wrenching behemoth, Algebra 2, weighing in at a mind-boggling 800 pounds. Foreign languages! The multilingual international sensation capable of tossing you clear across the Atlantic. And finally, biology. More ferocious than formaldehyde, she'll dissect you one chromosome at a time. Who among you will step up to their challenge?
Yeah, I'll do it. Me too. I'm in. Sign me up.
Take on the tough classes now. You need them to prepare for college. Find out which classes you need at knowhowtogo.org.
Brought to you by the American Council on Education, Lumina Foundation for Education, and the Ad Council.
You're looking to expand your business or services? Let the Open Mic Broadcast Network help lead the way. With our customized campaigns, we are definitely able to reach your target audience. For more information, dial 832-213-8824. The Open Mic Broadcast Network, serving the community through faith and athletics. The voice of student athletics.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Coles Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Top men's basketball assistants in the SWAC, an article produced by Jeff Goodman, Stadium Basketball Insight, and to break all of that down and give us the analysis is Coach Van Pettaway. Coach, good morning to you.
Hey, good morning, Carlos, and good morning, Dr. Prince, and all of the listening on.
You doing okay?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. I'm blessed. I'm spending a little time with the madam. This is her weekend. This is her birthday weekend, so we're out of town. We're moving.
Yeah. Your mama's happy. Everybody's happy.
There you go. Happy
yes,
wife,
sir.
happy life.
Oh, yes, indeed. I'm not henpecked. I've just been picked by the right hand.
By the right hand. There you go. Let's go. Cannot beat it. Cannot beat it. Wow.
Okay, wait a minute. Breaking news. Tell us again, Dr. Prince. Well, we heard it, but
well, I just want to let the listeners know it was announced about an hour ago, but the MAC has canceled all fall competition. Of course, we know we're talking about football, so there will be no football. The first FBS conference to make that announcement.
Wow. But look, it's going to be, in my opinion now, there's going to be a domino effect.
Yeah, and I think the Power 5 conference is going to wait till the absolute last minute.
Yep.
I mean, the very absolute last minute.
Yep. Too much money involved. Yep.
Well, thanks, Dr. Prince, for that breaking news. Coach, top men's basketball assistant, and listeners have weighed in already. But Jeff Goodman, give us a little background on him. You know him.
Oh yeah. I my first time dealing with Jeff was in 2005 when Obi Trotter came out, and he was doing a combine, and he desperately wanted Trotter in that combine. During that time, the combines were for our seniors to be seen by the NBA scouts and the overseas people like that. So he's been involved in collegiate basketball for quite a few years, and he's very well respected, and he does a lot for the game of basketball. He's a jack of all trades, because not only is he a columnist, a journalist where he writes stuff for basketball, he also looks out for the welfare of the student athletes in basketball, and he's highly respected in the business.
Yeah, and he produced an article, Top Men's Basketball Assistants, Southwestern Athletic Conference, and he goes on to say, for each conference, I polled at least 20 coaches, primary assistants, and asked for them to name the top assistant coaches in their respective league. Is it a perfect way of determining the elite assistants? Maybe not. But it seems far more accurate than any other method. And so, you look at the article, and he proceeds to go on to give the top 5 assistant coaches in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. First and foremost, you being a head coach, I know this is going to be just a simplistic question, but how important is it to have quality assistants, and one person who, if Coach Pettaway maybe say he had a personal emergency and he couldn't be there, he would feel comfortable in turning the program over to a top assistant or someone on his staff.
Right. Well, let me say this. For every successful head coach, there's quality assistant coaches in that program. You're nothing by yourself. You got to have a staff. You got to have people that have your same philosophy, have your same beliefs in order to be successful. Assistant coach is very important. They're the lifeblood. The assistants are the lifeblood of your program.
Mm-hmm.
They're the guys that we as head coaches, we get all the credit. The assistant coaches do the work. They're the guys that out there beat the bushes. Like in my case, they did the bulk of the recruiting. I was the closer. That's just like in baseball. They started the game, and I just came in and closed it out. You got to have them. They're very important. And for some head coaches, they want to do everything. An assistant cannot grow unless you allow them to do their job. Oh, and the first thing that I would tell a kid, if they wanted to work for me, you got to be willing to work. You got to be willing to learn. And if you want to be on my staff, your ultimate goal is for you to be a head coach. I said, if you don't want to be a head coach, you don't need to come work for me. Mm-hmm. Because that means that you're not improving. You're not looking to progress. So the assistant coaches are very vital. Jeff did a great job in putting together these 5 people. Chapman from Texas Southern, Prince from Southern, Burke from Jackson State, Wyndham Moore from Prairie View, and then Banks from Alabama A&M. Now, in the coach's opinion, these were 5 of the best coaches in the league, assistant coaches in the league. But there are plenty of others. You go down the valley, you look at Brooks and Gunner at Pine Bluff. These are guys that have been out there for quite some time. And as head coaches, we see them on the recruiting trail. And I think to recognize these guys, I think it's a great accomplishment for the SWAC. And I really feel like I know everybody on this list personally except Chapman from Texas Southern. He's a Memphis native, so I know him through my son-in-law. But these other guys, I've interacted with them. You take Burks. He played in the league down at Jackson State. So what better person to represent your institution than a former player who is now an assistant coach? Now, in recruiting, they can use that. He can sit in there and tell mom and dad, well, Mama, I went to Jackson State. I played at Jackson State. Now I'm sitting in your living room talking to you about your son. Because these are the type of things that happen at Jackson State. You come in and do what you're supposed to, there could be an opportunity for you later on. And I'm living proof of that. So a person that played at that institution, man, you don't have a better recruiting tool than that. So that's great. And then, of course, Prince at Southern. Everybody knows his father, but he's a great. He's got the blood in his genes. These guys are outstanding.
Yeah. Oh, Tick Price.
Sorry. Price.
Yeah.
Tick Price's son. I'm sorry, I said Prince. Look, I know Dr. Prince, you just on my mind, man. But yeah, it's Price. Tick Price's son. Yeah.
Well, and speaking of Prince, a listener says, "Hey, Carlos, you can hit Dr. Prince with the fact that an internet basketball panel picked a Baton Rouge, Louisiana native from McKinley High School. You know, I thought the name sounded familiar. University of Memphis, top basketball assistant coach in the SWAC. He's talking about TSU's Tyrone Chapman.
Right, yep. That Rube, I thought he went and played in Memphis, though.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, he went to Memphis State. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Went to Memphis. Yeah. That's great.
Did he say hit me for what?
No, he was saying pick at you.
Oh, man, you know, you can pick me all day long and twice on Sunday. I love y'all.
Baton Rouge native.
Got that Louisiana background.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That's
because we pick bad on so many lists, so when we have a good thing, it's a situation where some people feel it's a place, for tourism. You come and travel and have a good time, and then, you leave. But sports is a passion, just like in other places within the conference blueprint. But Coach Penaway, here's something that's been discussed for a while, and although it initially was talked about on the football perspective, but I think you still can relate to this. When I listen to you talk about how important it is to have quality and how important it is to have assistant coaches, can a head coach, no matter what sport it is, can he sometimes fall into the trap of micromanaging and trying to do everything?
Right. And see, that's what I was leading into when I said a coach has to allow the assistant to grow and do their job. You can't micromanage. You got a good assistant coach needs to be a hands-on coach. If you got that guy just to recruit, he will never develop. He will never be able to move on. I made sure that my coaches had an opportunity to do every aspect of the program, from the administrative side on up. I taught them that. I told them, if you're going to work for me, you're going to learn all aspects of it. When you come to my practice, they are broken down with their student athletes and they're getting stuff done. I supervise all of the different segments that they do. Before practice, in our meetings and stuff, we go over what we're going to do. But I'm not going to be the one doing every drill. You got to allow these guys to coach. When you go to some of these practices, and I had a lot of opportunities as when I helped Coach Joe when he was scouting for the Knicks. So I went all over this country to different practice sites and to observe how different some coaches act in practice and how they relate to their staff. I hated going into a place where only the assistant coach was talking and the head coach was doing all the talking and doing everything, and assistant coaches just standing on the sideline. In some places, they didn't even have whistles on. How you gonna be a coach if you don't have a whistle? That means that you never get a chance to stop the action or to correct someone. So it's very important that you allow assistant coaches to do their jobs for their future. Because if they just get pigeonholed as a recruiter, that's what kills them. They can't advance.
That's a good point, because, Coach, when you look at it, we always hear the cliche that, a good head coach is a CEO, a good manager. And he observes, and he has the final say. But it's interesting to hear you say that, how you like to see, and when you're coaching, how involved the assistant coaches are involved in it. Like coach football, I've always argued about, you have the head coach, then you have offense, defensive coordinators. But position coaches are the ones, to me, that do the majority of the developing. But they didn't get the recognition as much, and also financially.
Correct. That's
privately they will tell you that.
Carlos, you hit the nail on the head. You got to allow these guys the room to grow, and giving them that room, you got to allow them to do their job. And then you in our sport, in basketball, we change things up. Everybody's not doing the same thing. Everybody gets a piece of the pie. Everybody don't get their hands involved because you got some coaches, they don't like the administrative side. But I promise you, if you become a head coach, you got to know the administrative side of the job. So you don't want to wait. You don't want to wait until that time comes, and now you like a deer in headlights because you've never experienced that before. So you let them do a little bit of everything besides recruiting. Now, yes, it is your job to recruit. We got to bring kids in, and those guys are very important. The entire staff is very important at establishing relationships. You got, in order to keep good kids and to keep your program viable, you got to have a great relationship, not only with that kid, but with those families. And that's everybody's job. Not just, see, when I tell them, I say, you may recruit a kid, but the kid is in the program. He's not your recruit. He's just in the program. We don't, see, you to me, I would never allow ourselves to be labeled like that. That's why I would allow every coach to be a part of that kid's recruitment. Yeah. And I think to me, if you have a great relationship, when you see hard times or you face adversity, you'll be able to pull through it because of the relationships that you've established with your players and your staff. A happy staff will lead to a great program.
Yeah, and on this list, you can be sure that all of these guys mentioned and other ones that wasn't mentioned, they are head coach material, and that's their goal to get to their position. But they will not forget where they've come from.
Right.
And they've got good habits then. They are going to take that same attitude when they become a head coach, in my humble opinion.
Right. And see, it's great for me to go into a practice like when we were doing the broadcasting the games for the SWAC. I would get an opportunity to sit in on practices. And then you watch the head coaches, you watch the assistant coaches as they interact with the players and they go over scouting reports and they do different things on the floor. And that's what makes a successful program. And to see these guys, like I said, I saw most of these guys firsthand. I guess this last couple of years, Banks at A&M, I've seen him more than anyone because, I go to their practices I go to their workouts all the time. And see his relationship with the kids. Not only is this guy a great recruiter, but he does a great job. He's a great technician on the floor, and that's what you need. And I understand that all of these guys are great at what they do, and it's great for them to be recognized this way. I mean, they only picked the 5, but trust me, there are plenty of other assistant coaches in the conference. A lot of the new places like Alcorn, where you had coaches that I've known for years. Well, now you got a new staff coming in there, so I've got to get to know some of these guys. Same thing in Alabama State. I mean, when you had all those kids at Alabama State, Sewell and all those guys and Rogers that have been there for years, and you run across them on the recruiting trails, you run across them at these clinics and stuff. So you develop a rapport with them as a head coach, and even though you're from another school, you see and know the work that they put in, especially on that recruiting trail when they beat your butt for one of those top athletes.
Yeah, it's called relationships, establishment. Yep. And now that I'm thinking about it, I wonder will there be an article produced on the other side as far as top assistant coaches on the women's side. Because, you have men and women assistant coaching on the women's side of basketball. You have some that are head men coach. I mean, they're males, but they're coaching women's team.
Correct.
I guess I said that right. I don't want to switch it up there. Mix it up.
Well, yeah, but see that, and that's a great thing when a guy can cross over and be able to coach the women. I see, me personally, I couldn't coach them in basketball, but I tell you what I did try to do. Mm-hmm. When the SWAC first introduced bowling, do you know I asked for that job? Ooh. I asked to be the bowling coach because I thought it would be a less stressful situation. And then females. Once I found out it was going to be female, I started backing down. I said I wasn't ready. Me as a person, I was not ready to coach females.
Why do you think that was the case?
Because I felt like I would have to back down a whole lot in order to get them to relate to me, because I've been coaching men my entire life. Yep. But when they first came out with bowling, they didn't say it was going to be female. They just said bowling. I said, I want that.
Oh, okay. I got you. Yeah. Well. Yeah. And that is a sport.
Yep. Yes, it is.
I won't tell you what my average was. It wasn't good at all. You talking about inconsistent? I'll tell you this quick story. Just in a bowling competition at the place I was working at. Only needed 5 pins, 5, and 2 throws to win for my team. Wow! And no, it's a true story, Dr. Prince. And all I needed was 5 pins. Do you know I threw 2 gutter balls? Was that pressure?
But you know what, Carlos? That's called, pressure will bust a pipe.
Amen.
Yes, sir.
Pressure
will bust. Yes.
I just needed 5 pins. And the 2 frames before then, I picked up 2 spares. And to this day.
Hold on. You know we do record these, and I'm going to play that back.
Hey, if I use myself for example, nobody can get mad.
Hey, look, Carlos. I hate to say this, but if we were on the bus, you would have to find that night. You would have to find your way back home because we would have let you
good thing I drove myself.
He couldn't even come back on the yard, Coach. He couldn't even come back on the yard. Tell him he couldn't get on the bus. Man, look, we transfer you. We putting you in the portal ourselves. And don't even come back. Look, we're going to send all your stuff to your parents' address, and you're going to be on a milk carton because you're going to be missing off my campus.
And see, that's a perfect example. That's a true story. I did not get 5 pins, of course. But then the next day, I bowled my best game ever.
Yep.
So to your point, sometimes it was about the pressure. And then I had a coworker whisper in my ear, "All you need is 5. You got it.
Hold on. My question. Here's the real question: did they invite you back next year?
Yeah. See, because if you look at my body of work, it's just like if Coach Pettaway, you look at his record, he has more wins than losses. But if I say, Coach, what was your worst moment? It may have, and I don't know if this is the case, it may have been we were up by 23 at the half and we lost by 10. I think that hurts more than the last second shot.
Oh yeah.
It don't hurt no worse than needing only 5 pins and you throw 2 gutter balls.
Trust me, I felt that pain for many years. I was traumatized.
now, Carlos, that's just like being at the free throw line with no time on the clock. Mm-hmm. It's a tie game. You got 3 free throws. And the game goes to overtime, and you're losing overtime.
Yeah. that the pain of it all.
Yeah.
But see, you have to be confident in yourself to even tell that story. I didn't have to tell it, and it is true.
Wow. Well, Carlos, I feel.
But I got over it.
That's tough, and see, here you are now. So that's a sign that even though you can come through tough situations or tough times, you can always bounce back.
Now the question is, put in that scenario, again, would I make the same two mistakes or mistake, or would I rise to the occasion?
I don't think you would, because if allowed, I think you would roll the ball down the lane with two hands this time and just let it slow roll out. Put it this way. It would be a conservative throw. Yep. Because I threw I had kind of like a hook on my throw. You know.
There's a hook, all right.
10, 2, yep. And look, they should have had the hook pulling you out the bowling alley.
Oh, Coach, you know, we used to have a saying. We used to have a saying in baseball: a guy would strike out with bases loaded, 2 outs, and all he needed was a hit to win the game. And we would holler from the other side, "Your teammates hate you."
Yeah, I would imagine Brother Brown didn't have much love that night.
No, but but you know what? No one could make me feel worse than I made myself. Yep. You know, that was very disappointing. And if I was a bad bowler all the time, that'd have been different. But that was just not rising to the occasion and not taking care of business.
And you did that as an adult. Imagine the pressure.
Now we're talking about bowling now.
Yeah, I know. That's still that's a lot of pressure. That's still a lot of pressure. So you can imagine what these athletes are facing when they compete now. And right now, fellas, I mean, we're laughing, but they really have a lot on their plate right now, because there's a big decision for some of these athletes to make right now. Do I compete knowing that the virus is there and there's no cure?
Right. And you know, Coach, and in science and studies still can't tell you what would be the long-term ramifications from this. And I hear it on local shows. I hear it locally where I'm at. They're young. They're young. It's just like a super flu. No, it's not, you idiot. Right. No, you don't know that. And what are the long-term ramifications? So when athletes are getting together and say, whoa, wait a minute.
Well, like the Big Ten and the Pac-12 kids are doing, and the SEC, say, wait, they want what? 6 years of health insurance after they leave school. They want what they. I'm not going to talk about the compensation piece because we can go on all day about that. But one of the things that I've heard that I like, you got football players that are saying they want protection across the board for all athletes, not just football players. Mm-hmm. You know, so to have some of those athletes, football and basketball players, to stand up for their fellow athletes, I think that's great. I think it's great. They're not just looking out for themselves, they're looking out for all athletes, even in non-revenue sports.
And I'll end it on an outstanding point. I'll end it on this. A listener, Derek, that was Nick Anderson missing those 4 free throws in the finals of Game 1 against Houston. And guess what, Derek? That was my team at the time, Orlando. To his point, he said they were never the same. They got swept in that series, didn't it?
That's true. That's true story. That's true. Yep.
I can take it down.
Check it out, Carlos.
That was years ago. You know.
Yep.
Actually, over 20 years ago. Now, it's the biggest question is, can I throw the ball down the lane?
Hold on. You said it was 20 years ago. Has he bowled since?
Oh, yeah. I bowled a couple of times since then. And guess what? You have to be. It is a sport. You have to be.
Yeah.
You go. Yeah. My quick bowling lesson, and the lanes we were bowling at, their lanes were oil, and they were synthetic lanes. Wood lanes is a total different shot.
Wow. But Carlos, I I have been to the bowling alley in Baton Rouge. Our women team came down to bowl against Southern. I was there. We were in town that weekend, so I came to the match. I was there. I was there at the bowling alley in Baton Rouge when A&M women
sport.
Yeah.
It's a good sport. But I guess the way Dr. Prince is laughing, he would have got a strike on that throw.
I wouldn't have thrown those 2 gutter balls, I can tell you that.
Hey, look, and only needing 5 pins.
Yeah, only needing 5. If I didn't do nothing but throw it hard straight down the middle, I'd have done no gutter ball. I guarantee you that one.
Yep. I'm the same way on that one, Carlos. If you give me 2 balls to hit 5 pins, you can take it to the bank. You can take it to the bank.
Now, if you was talking about a split, I could have felt you.
Oh, that's hard to get, but I've achieved that before.
I don't know. All I know is what you told me about the gutter balls.
Right, and I still stand by it. All I'm saying is there is a psychology even in sport.
Yep, yes, sir.
Like when Chris Webber called that timeout.
Yep.
He probably wouldn't have done that again, but he did it then.
Right. Yep.
That's it. Coach Pettaway, you enjoy yourself.
Okay, thank
and we will talk again next week.
Okay, we'll be bowling with you later.
All righty.
Okay.
And for you, Dr. Prince, we'll say thanks as well.
Thank you, Gutterball.
Brenda, BJ Jones, Quincy Reshaw, Coach Pettaway, thanks for coming on. Until next Saturday, and I will recover at 10 a.m., make sure you join us for another edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Until that time, peace and God bless.